Yesterday, we talked about Nick Sirianni. Should he stay or should he go? It looks like the odds are that he's probably staying. So the next part of the question is how much blame and what do we have to question and say and talk about with Jalen Hurts? How much blame does he get for this season? I know it's a conversation that some don't want to have. I definitely don't want to have it. But I know it's a conversation some people want to bring up and talk about. Is Jalen Hurts a problem at all? We're going to talk about that and much more. Trending in the AM, taking your thoughts and opinions on Jalen Hurts, the Eagles, and anything else you want to talk about. We're live with those comments and opinions in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You know the drill. Hit the like, share, retweet, follow button. Wherever you're watching, make sure you subscribe, follow the pages, turn those notifications on, and make sure you shoot me a follow at Bearded Knowledge on all social media platforms. This is Trending in the AM, the only morning show in Philadelphia where your opinions actually matter. And today's a day that we're really curious about opinions. I'm really curious where Eagles Nation stands on Jalen Hurts. We know where everybody stands on Nick Sirianni. We know where everybody stands on Brian Johnson. We know all that. But do we have an opinion on the Jalen Hurts situation? And a few people have brought Jalen Hurts' name up into the comments in the last couple of days as the Eagles season, unfortunately, has come to an end. And as the bitterness of the collapse has started to wear off a little bit. We're getting into a more of a let's have a discussion about what caused the collapse kind of way. Obviously, it sounds like Nick Sirianni is not going anywhere. Whether he is partly to blame or not, it seems like he is not going anywhere. So now the question comes, how much blame does Jalen Hurts take? And more importantly, do we have a Jalen Hurts problem? I'll get to all the comments in a second, guys, but I saw this one. I had to jump right to it. I do want to have this conversation, George. I'm just a little tired this morning. Didn't have the best night of sleep last night. So that's the problem when you do a show. It don't matter what your night's sleep was. You have to wake up and come right. Like literally, within an hour and a half of waking up, I am on the air live. So I'm not always fully awake. I'm not even normally I have a half a cup of coffee before a show. I'm just on my first cup, my first few sips. It's gonna be a long day, George. Just so you know. So it's not that I don't want to have the conversation. It's that I'm just not awake yet this morning. It's tough to have this energy to do this show every like that. We'll come back to all these comments in a second. The people that do morning shows for real, like Jason Lee, who's in studio at PHL 17 at like 4 a.m. every day. People like Angelo before he retired had to get up at 2 a.m. The Preston Steve crew, they get up at 2 a.m. every day to go in and do their morning show. I don't know how they do it and how they've done it for decades on end. Because, man, I've been doing this morning show. We're into our third year of doing the morning show. And man, it gets tough. And I only got to wake up at 6:30, 6:45 every day. So Omar, right away, Omar's coming. How you doing, my man? Yes, we do have to have a conversation on Jalen Hurts. Okay. We're going to do that. Some comments from TMC. Yes, Jason Kelce gave a signed jersey to a McDonald's worker. Very kind of him. Very nice. Hurts pretty good. Needs some Red Bull. I need some Red Bull. That is correct. Get your comments in. Phil opening monologue. He is setting the table. That's what I do. I like to set the table. But I had a very busy day at the pizza shop, Fox's Pizza. It just scrolled across the bottom of the screen there. But I had my man George to thank. He made sure to keep me updated. All the different rumblings and grumblings going around throughout the media about the Eagles. But one that he made sure to send me was because he wasn't sure if I'd miss it or not was the Shady McCoy, our good friend LaShawn traded for Kiko Alonso back in the day, calling out Jalen Hurts and putting the blame basically on Jalen Hurts for the collapse, or just as much of the blame on him. And I'm just going to read some things that he said here. Basically, um, that Jalen Hurts is more to blame than Nick Sirianni. He may coach, lead the team, get the guys ready to play, but he's not throwing the footballs, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's fair. I think that's fine. What Shady McCoy is saying. He's first, before we even talk, do we have a Jalen Hurts problem? Let's just talk about that theory that the coaches don't tackle, the coaches don't make the fumbles, et cetera, et cetera. And I know this kind of tends to lean back towards the Nick Sirianni conversation from yesterday instead of the Jalen Hurts conversation. On LaShawn McCoy's comments specifically, no, coaches do not create turnovers. Coaches do not throw interceptions. Coaches don't fumble the ball or miss tackles. But coaches do set the discipline level, set the accountability level, set the tone in the office throughout the week. Coaches do design the game plans that were massively flawed. Coaches do coach players on where to read a play, what kind of an angle to take towards a tackle. So where Shady's comments are trying to take the blame off of Nick Sirianni, put it on Hurts and put it on the players. I get that. It's fine. But him calling out Jalen Hurts specifically, Jalen Hurts doesn't miss the tackles. Jalen Hurts doesn't, play terrible defense. He's trying to make a general statement about coaches, but using Jalen Hurts' name only in it. And that's the problem I have with Shady McCoy's comments right there. You also have that, and I kind of feel like people are talking about it as support for Nick Sirianni. Fletcher Cox coming out yesterday, Jason Kelce coming out yesterday, and clear as day, showing their support for Nick Sirianni. Clear as day. That they have no problems with Nick Sirianni, the leader of this football team. Is that something that maybe brings up more questions about Jalen Hurts? The team supports Nick Sirianni. Does that mean they don't support Jalen Hurts? I don't know. But the question has to be asked, did we make a mistake giving, and I know people have been in the comments of this show all week, or people have been in my mentions on Twitter all week saying that the $250 million contract to Jalen Hurts was a mistake. And this year proved it. And I'm here to say that it wasn't a mistake. First and foremost, honestly now, he's not even a top 3 or 4 highest paid quarterback anymore. And by the end of this offseason, he won't be even a top 5 paid quarterback anymore. So I'm fine with that based off of what the value of a quarterback is. Now, is Jalen Hurts as good as he was in 2022? Is that Jalen Hurts? No. Is Jalen Hurts as bad as he looked this year? Also no. The key for us Eagles fans is to find out and figure out what the middle ground and what the real true potential of Jalen Hurts is. The question is he more like 2022? Is he more like 2023? Is he more like 2021? How about is he more like the 2020 version? Where does Jalen Hurts realistically, big picture, because he's got a big contract and he's going to be here for a few years. This is not going to be a Carson Wentz situation where we move on from him super, super quickly. It's going to be here at least another year or two. He's going to be here with another offensive coordinator next year. Doubtfully a new coach, but I guess that chance is still there. Where does he realistically lie in his potential? And we have to take the blinders off when we answer that question. Yes, I'm the big, shocker. I don't know what you're saying shocker is, but probably all the positive things I say about Jalen Hurts are that. And I'm trying to take my blinders off and try to figure out what Jalen Hurts is. And in my opinion, what Jalen Hurts is a strong leader, a strong athlete that will do whatever it takes to try to be better, but that also has probably some limitations as a quarterback. Marshawn, I'm ready. I'm trying. I'm going to try to have this conversation in a very unbiased way, taking off the Jalen Hurts blinders. Do I think now, after what I saw this year, following last year, do I think Jalen Hurts is going to be in the MVP conversation every single year? Do I think Jalen Hurts, when next season starts, am I going to put Jalen Hurts in my top 3 or 4 quarterbacks of the year of the NFL? No. I have to realistically see he has limitations throwing a football. He has limitations reading a defense. But that is where I don't want to be like shady and put all the blame on Jalen Hurts and take it off the coaches. I'm just a casual. I'm just a dude that struggles to wake up at 6:30 every morning and come on here and talk to a couple hundred of you a day. I'm a casual. And I can see that Jalen Hurts has to be coached a certain way to be successful. Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson did not coach the offense this year to push forward what makes Jalen Hurts a successful quarterback. What's up, Jake? How you doing? Just popping in a down year, Hurts was still a top 10 quarterback. His ceiling is top 3. And Jake, that's what I normally feel. That's what I normally think. The people have asked to have this conversation, so we're going to have it. And I'm trying, Jake, to have this conversation with the Jalen Hurts blinders off. I'm trying to have this conversation in a way where I know that I'm not being biased one way or another. I agree with you. I still think he's a top 10 quarterback. He might still have a few seasons at random points where he's top 3. But you could do much worse than having a top 10 quarterback. You look around the NFL at the dreck in the quarterback position on some of these teams around the league. What would you rather? Jalen Hurts, some greatness and some inconsistencies? Or would you rather, I don't know, some of this, do you want Jimmy Garoppolo here? Do you want Geno Smith here? Do you want Aiden O'Connell here? There's a lot of bad quarterback play in the NFL. So where maybe he's not the elite quarterback we hoped he would be, he's still a really damn good quarterback. And while he definitely has blame for the failures this season, Shady McCoy taking the blame off of Nick Sirianni completely and putting it on Jalen Hurts is where I have a problem. If I had to pick a politician to compare Hurts' energy level to Chris Christie, no, you must know nothing about Chris Christie. Hurts' biggest issue is locking in on one receiver and not reading the defense. Clearly missed the open guy to an extent, but also some of the mistakes he makes on not checking down and dumping down. The coaches say he's allowed to check down and audible, but yet we never see him do it. So is he not coached well enough to do that, Bobby? Sometimes everyone's like, oh, take the quick out, have the hot route. Well, going over that play, I think it was 3rd and 2 on Monday night, and he's under a lot of pressure, and he drops back, and all 4 routes being run are 20-plus yard route trees. That's not on Hurts necessarily. Maybe he should have audibled out, sure, but the design of the play gave him no quick options. You don't need 4 20-plus yard route trees being run on 3rd and 2, backed up against your own end zone. So, yes, Jalen Hurts' issue is some of these things. But why are we taking the blame off the coaches? My cool shades, I got them right here. It's not sunny in here. I don't need to look like this today. Don't need that. Who wears sunglasses on the inside anyway? Not me. Shady is right though. Jalen wasn't part of the solution. See, okay, and that's fine. Nick Sirianni was part of the problem. Jalen Hurts didn't solve the problem and fix the problem. It doesn't make him the problem. It just shows that he has limitations in what he is capable of doing. Look, I always shoot straight, and you know that. I know, George, you're always never afraid to be honest with me. So far, it is not conversation. It is you defending Hurts, just being honest. No, 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 no. Nobody's bringing legit stuff to the table to look at the other side of the equation. I'm just putting my thoughts on what I think you'll say about Jalen Hurts' problems. And of course, to every conversation, there's got to be two sides. If one person's going to say something negative, I'm going to counter with what's the positive. Do you want me to stand here and say something I don't believe, that Jalen Hurts needs to be cut and it was a big mistake? Because I'm not going to say that. Would you be surprised if Hurts had a knee procedure? No, I would not, Tim. Would not be shocked at all that, and whatever game it was a couple weeks into the season, when I think it was the Rams game where they say he hurt his knee. I actually think he hurt his knee first in the Patriots game week 1. And he definitely playing hurt throughout the entirety of the season. And maybe some of the flaws on the offense, like Tim says here, brings up the knee injury, are related to the knee injuries. I wouldn't be surprised, Tim, if Jalen Hurts has 2 or 3 procedures. One on his knee, one on his finger, and God only knows what else is hurting him and ailing him. If he stayed healthy, would we have a different picture? If they would have sat him after the Rams game for 3 weeks or whatever, would have he been better? Would the results this season would have been better? Because the offense from 2022 to 2023 was drastically different. Not just Jalen Hurts' play. The style of offense ran was different to an extent. So the knee definitely is a factor there. George, a lot of people not ready to talk. Look, I'm ready to have the conversation. You guys are just not bringing the other side of the equation to the conversation. The only person that really said something about Jalen Hurts is Bobby, and I clearly agree. He does. But I want to say that some of these issues from Bobby can be coached out of Jalen Hurts, but they weren't. That's all I'm saying on that one. And yes, that shows me defending Hurts a little bit, putting some more of the blame on the coaches, but that's it. Now, good players will fall because of salary cap. Hurts needs to step it up. Jalen Hurts is going to have to step it up. Jalen Hurts is going to have to be better in 2024. There's no doubt about it. And the one thing that cannot be questioned about Jalen Hurts is the fact that he is going to put the work in this offseason to try to be better. Can he be better is the question. No one is looking for a solution. This conversation is just about asking questions that need to be asked. Hurts is not going anywhere. Jalen Hurts is not going anywhere, at least not immediately. No doubt about it, George. So what questions need to be asked? Is he good enough? Yeah. Is he elite? Maybe not. Is he worth the contract he signed? Probably. In the grand scheme of things, could the Eagles quarterback situation be worse than it is? Absolutely. Jalen Hurts' dynamics were changed instead of letting him be himself like last season. And Sharon, thank you for tuning in. I greatly appreciate you checking in. And I agree. His dynamics were changed for 2 reasons. There are 2 reasons what changed. 2 things changed. One, Shane Steichen to Brian Johnson changed. Okay. 2, Jalen Hurts hurt his knee and the team let him play through. Those 2 things changed a lot of this season. A lot. Let's just say. So, how do we fix those things? How do we get Jalen Hurts? The question shouldn't be, is Jalen Hurts is he a problem or not? The question should be, how do we get Jalen Hurts back to 2022 or as close to 2022 as we can and away from 2023? That should be the question. But people like Marshawn, this is not a dig at you, Marshawn, but people like Marshawn want to say he's a mistake. The contract was a mistake, and he, and whatnot. The question should be, how do we fix Jalen Hurts? Because he's not going anywhere. Dolphins show was debating why Tua better than Hurts. I mean, I think at this point you can't say without a shadow of a doubt Jalen Hurts is better than Tua. Coming into this season, I thought without a shadow of a doubt. And Tua had a great start to the season, but Tua fell off this season. massively at the second half of the year. He was an MVP candidate early. He didn't finish an MVP candidate. Who is the MVP this year, in your opinion? It's not Jalen Hurts. It's not Tua. Probably Brock Purdy. It shouldn't be. I think it should be Christian McCaffrey should be the MVP. Running back won't get it, but I think he should be. Everyone. And Marshawn's addressing everyone. Jalen is not going anywhere. Howie traded big money quarterback for 2 first-round picks to the Colts. That's Marshawn. I mean, that is the fairest of comments so far. So I know George had messaged me about his contract earlier, and I got his contract up here, and it's very team friendly. There's a lot of dummy years and dummy money down the line. It's tradable. He has a no trade clause, but it is tradable of a contract. If you were to trade him, you would just have to get his approval on, which would mean a total collapse between Howie, whoever the coach is, and Jalen Hurts to have him agree to want to leave Philadelphia. So that's something there. Dolphins losing roster, and they haven't even signed their quarterback yet. Tua, that'll be the first big guy that gets signed this offseason. Here is legit stuff. With Sirianni's inability to adapt due to the limitations of the quarterback, physically and physically. With Sirianni's inability to adapt because of Jalen Hurts' limitations as a quarterback, and what was his inability to adapt due to limitations of his quarterback, Jalen Hurts, because of the injuries. And I think both could be part of the question or part of the answer or be the right answer. But I still haven't figured out which one it is. And I'm not going to go blindly into 2024 thinking everything's going to be better, but I'm willing to go into 2024 hoping that the injuries held him back, the loss of Shane Steichen held him back, et cetera, et cetera. I'm hoping that some of it's blind loyalty to Jalen Hurts. Some of it is just being smart, knowing we can't just keep moving on from big money quarterbacks. Yeah, Jalen or Howie fixed it one time. It doesn't mean he's going to fix it all the time. Year one of a $250 million contract, looking more like a bad investment, but it's only 1 year. And I could see how it looks like a bad investment, Marshawn. But when the end of this offseason comes and you see all the big money that was given out last year and this year to big money quarterback, Jalen Hurts' contract is going to be a decent investment, not a big over-the-top investment. There's already multiple quarterbacks being paid more than him, and there's probably going to be more this offseason that are paid more than him. So it's the Jalen Hurts contract conversation is going to eerily feel similar to the Tobias Harris conversation. Sounded like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, eventually, by the time we get in the middle of the contract, it's just going to be an average contract. Just remember that. Everyone is also so quick to say Hurts should just audible out, and I get that. But one, he shouldn't have to audible every play. And two, what's the point when the audible play is going as bad as the called one? Yeah, and to that point, Jake, how much coaching are they doing of these audibles in practice? Everybody wants to say Jalen should do this or that. Is he coached up the right way to do this? I don't know. When he does audible, he audibles to a quarterback draw mostly, and that's it. That's a problem. His only audible is to call the quarterback draw, as Christian McCaffrey clearly pointed out before a play. I don't know. It's more to it than it just simply sounds. Goddard said Hurts is late with or doesn't get to the right checks on time. So they end running with the play that was called. That's what it sounds like. When did Dallas Goddard say this, Bobby? Because I didn't see Goddard say anything negative about Jalen, unless it was in the different context of a different conversation. If he just can't read, this would go back to the reading a defense problem. But he didn't have a problem reading defenses last year. He was successful last year. So was it the coaching? Was it the loss of Shane Steichen? Was it the loss of Brian Johnson as the quarterback coach? Because there's certain things that the quarterback coach does that the offensive coordinator doesn't to help coach up a player. Offensive coordinators design a whole game plan. The quarterback coach is just working on the quarterback's fundamentals and step-by-step process of each week. Is the loss of Brian Johnson as the quarterback coach as much of a big issue as the loss of Shane Steichen? And is there some blame there as well? He just didn't look to have his legs in some of his throws. That's a fair thing, and as you say that, I'm trying to think deep down inside, and yeah, he didn't step into throws as much as he used to. He looked like he was more flinging the football more frequently. He breaks containment from the pocket far too much. He sees one little glimmer of pressure, and he rolls out. He wasn't doing that last year. The problem is, when he did do it last year, he had the legs to evade and take off. This year, he didn't. How many times this year when he would run out to the right or left side, 1 yard gain or 1 yard loss, he just slides down and gives up his body because he can't beat the defender that's chasing him. And he was trying to protect himself far more than normal. I wonder how much of the issues with Jalen Hurts were simply an injury. And if that's the case, then that's again blaming the coaching staff for not sitting Hurts down, saying, you've got to get healthy. We can't win without a healthy Jalen Hurts. If that is the problem, if that was the crux of it. I brought you the other side at 4 a.m. 4 a.m. You guys, you Brits are crazy. Jalen choosing to throw a deep ball to AJ against the Seahawks is due to his knee injury. Hey, didn't say that. Now, A.J. Brown has said that they went against script on that play. That's fine. That is on Hurts. That is on A.J. But that's also, you want him to audible out of plays and do whatever he wants to fix the bad calls or the misreading of defenses or whatever. But then when he does do something against the grain and it's not successful, you blame him for not running the play that's called. Isn't there a little contradiction there? I'm waiting for the rest of Jalen's legal team to show up in the chat. I'm the only one that's going to be the Jalen legal team today. Morning, Mitchie Poo. What's up? Love a great Jalen Hurts debate. I mean, nothing gets the day going like discussing whether Jalen Hurts was a bad investment or not. I mean, I feel like I'm WIP here trolling with the title of the show. But that's what I give the people what they want. What's up, Kevin? How you doing this morning? I was so upset this season. I was considering Tanner. You were a McKeister for a few minutes. Get that out of here. No. Let's not have a McKeister morning here. Let's not do that. Was Shane here in 2021 when Jalen couldn't throw past 10 yards? Yes, he was. He did not take over the play calling duty till halfway through the season. Brian Johnson was here in 2021. And look, 2021 Jalen Hurts. Oh, bloody nose. 2021 Jalen Hurts, Marshawn, let's not forget, was better than the 4-game 2020 sample size we had. So from 2020 to 2021, Jalen took a small little step forward. From 2021 to 2022, he took a huge leap forward. And this conversation almost leads to back to the conversation we had a few weeks ago that the Eagles were a victim of their own success. If 2022 Jalen Hurts was just a little bit better than 2021 Jalen Hurts, he would have still gotten a big contract, maybe not 250, but bigger. And 2023 wouldn't have been as disappointing because he wouldn't have set the expectations and standards so high like he did in 2020. If he would have just slowly climbed instead of taking a huge jump and then leveling out or bottoming out a little bit. I said it before the season started. There is no way Jalen Hurts was going to live up to the 2022 season, statistically speaking. Had to let the MVP get in a little bit here. Tua, simple to defeat. He has one good read. We're not talking about Tua today. I was so upset about the CEO. So for some reason, your comment came in twice. Hurts needs to learn to go through progressions. His footwork has regressed. His footwork has regressed, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Who said anything about Hurts' injury? I meant inability of Hurts to adapt because I know you didn't bring it, but I'm bringing in his injury into the equation because I think his injury, and Tim brought it up in the Twitter comments, that maybe part of his regression was because he was hurt. Screen passes on long third downs, 26-yard go routes on short situation. Come on. Tim, I'm on your page. I'm on your side that Jalen Hurts has blame to be put on him. But I'm putting the power rankings of blame game, the coaching, above Jalen Hurts. That's my opinion. Now, maybe it's because I've got my Jalen Hurts blinders on still. In terms of injury, mobile quarterbacks give you less of a chance to win the ring. Jalen's style of play makes him more susceptible to injury. He has finished postseason physically limited. Yeah, I see. I just said mobile quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes is a mobile quarterback. How many Super Bowls has he won? Just gonna say. Josh Allen's a mobile quarterback. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. But are you calling for Josh Allen to be gone in Buffalo? I'm just saying the mobile quarterback thing I think is overblown because almost every quarterback nowadays is mobile to an extent. You still got to be able to find a way to pass from the pocket. I get that, but mobile quarterbacks can't be the answer there. I have 10 picks in the first 3 rounds. And all I'm saying is his hands are not clean as mess. Agreed. Shady is right to an extent. That's what I started in my opening monologue. Shady's right, but wrong at the same way. The way that he's saying it's not the coach's fault, it's the player's fault, but only naming one player. That would be my problem. That he's only blaming one player for the problems on the field. If Nick is still here, who do you think we bring in as OC to fix it? I think it's more than a 20% we stick with Johnson if Nick is still here. There are reports that Brian Johnson might still be here next year if he doesn't get a head coaching job. And that would be an utter disaster, Jake, in my opinion. I know it would bring some continuity to the offense 2 years in a row. And Shane Steichen's second year as offense coordinator was better than his first year, et cetera, et cetera. Outside that, I don't know. There were reports yesterday coming out of the media that Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman were locked in a lab calling potential offensive and defensive coordinators. That would lead some to believe, not me, some to believe that Nick Sirianni is safe. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think they were doing that prior to meeting with Jeffrey Lurie today to give Jeffrey Lurie what their plan is and whether Jeffrey Lurie should keep Nick Sirianni or not. I think Brian Johnson keeping him would keep that continuity, sure, but I think it would be a big mistake, honestly, at this point. It's not coach. What's up, K1? I think real Jalen is somewhere between 2022 and 23. Does not bode well to be consistent contenders. See, I disagree. I think somewhere between 2022 and 23 is accurate. He's better than this year, not as good as last year. That's still an elite quarterback. Well, that's still an upper echelon quarterback in between those 2 years. And contender in what sense? Because let's be honest, somewhere between 22 and 23 Hurts is still going to win you the NFC East most years. It's still going to get you into the playoffs every year. Problem is, how far will it take you in the playoffs? That's the thing. And then once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. Hence, Green Bay beating the Cowboys, I haven't mentioned that in a few minutes. So that's great. I'm glad I got to mention that. Prior to 2022 season, Hurts worked with Tom House in the offseason and also at Steichen. And look at how well that played out. I didn't hear him doing anything last offseason. It's coaching. I mean, he worked out all offseason. He put the effort in. I just don't know if, who he was working out with. So when Shane took over in 2021, he had Jalen throwing the ball, right? Or was Jordan Howard the most valuable player on offense? Was this the year we became a run team that made the playoffs? Look, I still think that we're going year by year here, but everybody's focused in on 2022 and how elite that was. Every single thing went perfect in 2022. Injuries, players. It's not just Jalen playing over his head. Other players playing over their head. So I think that the problem is that it's an all encompassing issue. Jalen Hurts not good enough. Nick Sirianni not good enough. Brian Johnson not good enough. Everybody's not. Howie Roseman's not good enough. Jeffrey Lurie is not good enough. Everybody is on the blame game here. Should Baker Mayfield get Baker Mayfield's going to get a contract, but not much. Mahomes has a messed up knee and carved up a 70-sack defense with an all-pro cornerback and a Pro Bowl corner. Exactly. So I guess that's first and foremost, Patrick Mahomes is already, in my opinion, one of the 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time. And he may go down as the number 2 quarterback of all time when his career is all said and done. Just going to say that. So can't really, I know I brought Mahomes' name into the conversation, but you can't really bring Mahomes into the conversation too much because he's just extra special, I guess. So Hurts passing was fine except for turnovers this season. I think that has to do with the pass happy and athletic level of long ball addiction. The turnovers were big this year. Some of the turnovers were miscommunication. Some of them were bad throws. Some of them were drops. The fumbles were excessive this year, not just from Hurts, from the wide receivers as well. There's a lot of blame to go around. Not just Jalen Hurts. Allen Lamar ain't winning a Super Bowl either. One of those two guys is probably winning the Super Bowl this year. One of those two guys is definitely playing in the Super Bowl this year. And it's either going to be Brock Purdy or one of those two guys winning the Super Bowl this year. I still think it's going to be Baltimore and San Francisco in that Super Bowl with a slight chance at being Buffalo and Baltimore. But yeah. But even if you don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl, you're not moving on from those quarterbacks. They're still pretty damn good quarterbacks. So just got to say, you got to, as a team, when you find a quarterback, whether they're Hurts, Allen Lamar-like, or whether they're the traditional Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, pocket passers, you got to find your quarterback strengths, and you got to build around your quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven league. We know that. You have a quarterback that could be your franchise guy. Jalen Hurts might not be 2022 good, but he's still your franchise quarterback. Find what makes it work and build around that. Get him a play caller. Get him an offensive line. Get him a running back. Get him whatever he needs to succeed. That's it. When you make an investment, you want to see your investment pay off. When you buy a stock, when you buy a IRA, when you buy anything, you want it to pay off. They made the investment in them, but now they got to do the work. The investment's got to pay off, but you got to make sure you don't waste that investment. Build around it. Someone has to take blame. Nick is safe. The offense coordinator takes the bullet. Yeah. And I agree that Nick is probably safe. Unless when he sits down with Jeffrey Lurie today in his meeting, he says something so stupid that Jeffrey just has to go on from him. Nick Sirianni will be here. Nick Sirianni will be more like Mike Tomlin or Pete Carroll next year, where he has a lot less say. And you're going to have a strong offensive coordinator in here and a new defensive coordinator in here. Although Darius Slay said, sure, Matt Patricia can come back. Maybe that's because Darius Slay doesn't want to be here and he wants Patricia to stay here. I don't know. But yeah, you're going to have a new offensive and defensive coordinator next year. Whoever's brought in has to be brought in with the understanding that they have to build an offense to Jalen Hurts' strengths, not his weaknesses. And we know what his weaknesses are. We've discussed it now for 38 minutes. What his weaknesses are. Build an offense around them to eliminate them. Shady is right to put blame on Jalen. He touched the ball every snap. He had 18 or 20 turnovers this year. He doesn't go through progressions. The Jalen made dumb decisions with the ball. Right, but he's blaming tackling and turnovers and everything. But only names one name. Jalen Hurts. He is the highest paid player on the team. Sure. But, and all those turnovers weren't on Jalen Hurts. Just remember that. Some of them were on other players, but whatever. We all know that Sirianni was safe for this season, but it will suck next season if he doesn't make adjustments. And that's why, and I know, and I agree, Sirianni should be here. I don't want to see another coaching cycle go through here, everything changing again. But the thing is, giving Nick Sirianni a short leash and be like, you got till week 5 to prove yourself. Well, we're going to axe you. Nothing changed by week 5. We're 2-3 after 5 weeks next year. You're out of here. Offensive coordinator promoted to interim. Just make that move now then. Because you're probably wasting another season. If you don't think he can make those adjustments, you've got to get rid of Nick Sirianni now. Again, give your investment in your quarterback what he needs to succeed. The frustration the players have expressed, especially at the end, says that Johnson can't come back. Yeah. Agreed. I agree with that 100%. I think there would be an interesting 30 for 30 story from ESPN on the collapse of the Eagles this season, 10, 20 years from now, where everybody can freely speak their mind. He needs to get back to top form. He does. All Lori's need to be kept away from the football operations. I agree. And Howie needs to be kept away from game planning. All of the above. I'm attributing Stroud's success to Jalen since they worked out together this past offseason. I like that. I like that. What I also like is you said you were just popping in for a quick minute, and now you've hung in there for 30 minutes. That tells me I'm doing my job here, keeping people in the show for 30-plus minutes here. I see that. 10-3, game on the line, Seattle, and gotta have it game, and Jalen comes up short. Rent was due, and the team got evicted. Fine. You're valid in thinking that way. You're valid in believing that. I cannot tell you something that would change your mind that he came up short in big moments this year, because he did. But maybe some of it was coaching. Mayfield will probably get something similar to Jones in New York. Probably get Baker. Baker's such a good story. You know, he bet on himself. He took a really small minimum contract from Tampa because they needed a cheap quarterback, and he's exceeded. He's exceeded expectations in Tampa. He's going to get a. I don't know. I don't know what Jones is. Well, I know Jones is 4 for 160. What was Geno's contract? Like 3 for 60 something. I could see Baker getting a deal like that. 20, 25 million a year, maybe like a 3-year commitment, maybe an out after 2 or something like that. Something like that. What's up, Nitro? Everybody relax. I'm here. Big dog, what's good? Hey, my man. I'm glad you're here. Give me some Jalen Hurts love to combat the Jalen Hurts hate in the conversation. I have to go year by year, Phil. Y'all still talking about Shane like he was the biggest loss. He's not here anymore. Stop with the We Miss Shane Volume 1 mixtape. I think that's a valid argument. A valid thing, not argument, thing to say. It's not like we just lost him. We lost him a year ago. Let's move on. I get it. I thought Sirianni was due for a new contract. He better ask for a pay raise. I think he signed a 5-year contract, Mister. I think, which would mean he'd be entering his 4th year. So he would have next year to prove himself to get that extension. Normally, you get their extension with 1 year left on your deal. I think he signed a 5-year deal. Shane, yeah, just everyone keep commenting Shane. Jose, what's up? The process of hiring a new OCDC needs to be much better than before. Don't hire from within. Well, not hiring from within hurt us on the defensive side because you could have had Denard Wilson. But you let him walk to Baltimore for a lateral job. Instead, you gave the job to Desai, an outside piece. So what I want is Howie Roseman not to have so much say in the coordinators. Let Nick Sirianni pick his own guys. Let him bury himself. Nick has 2 years left on a 5-year deal. Exactly. That's what I thought. So we'll have this upcoming season to prove whether he's worth an extension. Chat GPT not saving Nick's meeting today. No? Okay. If Patricia's still here, Sirianni should. Yeah. I agree with that. If Matt Patricia's our defensive coordinator next year, I don't care what adjustments are made defensive personnel-wise. That would be the biggest laughing stock in the world if Patricia is our defense coordinator next year. When I order my pizza from Fox Pizza, I expect a good return on that investment. Never fails. Exactly. I like that. I don't think expatriate coaches work for this organization, but Patricia is better than what we saw. It was ludicrous to expect him to implement. See, and this is the problem here, George. We were told to our faces, even though we didn't believe it and we didn't see it. We were told he wasn't implementing a new system. He was just going to be the on-field play caller calling Sean Desai's system. Yet he spoke at all the defense coordinator interviews. All the players said he was instituting a new system. This is where coaching issues are. There's a disconnect. There's a fracture. There's a miscommunication. There's mixed messages and signals being sent everywhere. He might have had a better success even this year if you just flat out fired Sean Desai and got him out of the office, got him out of the building. Sent mixed signals, mixed messages, players and fans. What is Jalen's strength outside of the quarterback sneak for a mobile quarterback when he rolls right or left? The play is dead. I'm only talking this year for the record. Yeah, okay. Because he is good at reading the field or throwing the ball downfield most times. He struggled this year with it, but he's normally good with it. We were just getting an OC. Give me Bieniemy. Andy Protege will be motivated, and Sam Howell almost had 4,000 yards. If you want to run the ball more, Brett, Bieniemy's not the guy. Bieniemy will make us throw. Bieniemy will have Jalen Hurts throwing 55 times a game. I don't think I like Bieniemy as an offensive coordinator. Don't think Bieniemy would be the right fit with what we need. We just said give Jalen Hurts the tools to be successful, Brett. Not sure Bieniemy is that answer, but he's a successful offensive mind. So maybe he's got other wrinkles that he can adjust to. I don't know. To consider Bieniemy, I would have to interview him and talk to him, not me personally, if I was Nick Sirianni, about what he would do to amplify Jalen Hurts' strengths. Still having a Hurts conversation with his blinders on still. I don't know. I'm trying. Yeah, I don't know if it's a hard pass on Bieniemy. I just think it's what is he going to do differently from what he's already done, Bieniemy? My prediction: Jalen's value plummets further next season, and there'll be very little interest, even with a team-friendly contract. Eventually, we're going to take another huge cap hit, like with Carson. And I hope you're wrong. And George, out of everybody, knows I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. And I'm trying to admit that I'm not 100% right on Hurts. I'm struggling. I'm trying, but I'm struggling. I was wrong on Carson, and I hope I'm not wrong on Jalen. But if I am wrong on Jalen, I will sit here on this show and say I was wrong. Because I was wrong on Carson to an extent. If we bring in a new offensive coordinator, you have to let him run his offense and keep Nick out of play calling. Absolutely. Obviously, Nick's 5 to 6 play offense doesn't work. Agreed, Bobby. No doubt there. Darlene, what's up? The Eagles lost because now you lost it. Now you lost your best offensive line as your night. Hopefully, hope your team goes downhill. That. What are you, Cowboys fan? Half of it doesn't make sense, but I think I get what you're saying. But you must be a Cowboys. The Cowboys, shockingly, we talk about firing this coach and that coach. The Cowboys are keeping Mike McCarthy. That there should give the Eagles hope for 2024. That the Cowboys are still going to be a disaster too. Just remember, Mike McCarthy is returning as a Cowboys coach. Don't forget that. People was talking him getting a new contract after the 10-1 start. I'm sorry, Nick Sirianni was? I don't know. You got me. Birds talk gets me going. What can I say? I appreciate you, my man. Appreciate it big time, Jake. Just everybody watching, wherever you're watching. Got a lot of new names popping in today, or random names that aren't here all the time. Make sure you hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe button, that follow button. Greatly appreciate it. Phil, it's not hot. Stop it, Phil. It's not hate. It's concern. I have been constantly concerned about Nick and Jalen for the last 3 years. I'm not jumping onto any bandwagon. That's the thing with you, George. You are a patient man. You sit back and are patient, and you don't jump on any bandwagons ever. And I love that about you. You're the voice. You're even Steven always. You never get too high. George is basically Jalen Hurts emotion-wise. Never lets his emotions get too high. Never lets his emotions get too low. He just stays in the middle. And he objectively looks at every situation. They'll talk about what Nick couldn't do, but not touching on what Jalen couldn't do without saying maybe the coaches. Well, that's my opinion. And again, I have said plenty of times Jalen Hurts was not good enough. I'm just saying maybe the coaches put him in position to fail. Like me, hiring a pizza maker, but not giving him any dough to make the pizza with. You got to give him the tools to succeed, not just the ingredients like A.J. Brown and whatnot. He's got to have an oven to cook the pizza in. He's got to have a manager telling him how much sauce to put on the pizza. Everything works in unison. So it's and I've said this 1,000 times in the last week or so. There's no one person to blame this year for the collapse. Everybody, Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, Jeffrey Lord, Howie Roseman, Fletcher Cox, Nolan Smith, Nicholas Morrow, even Jake Elliott, everybody. If Jake Elliott wasn't so damn good at kicking field goals, maybe something else would have changed this year. Everybody is to blame. Except for Jake Elliott, honestly. He's the only one not to blame. Yeah, that's right. Hit that like button, everyone. Mitchie Poo, my man. Bull. It was a new system. Reddick and Sweat were running around like hell. I know. I agree. I agree 1,000%. But that is where we had problems in the office. Mixed signals being sent out to the players, to the fans, to the media on what was going on. And if we see how confusing what's going on, imagine how confused the players were. I don't know who my boss is. I don't know who's coaching me. I don't know what plays we're running. The plays that are being called, I don't even know what they are. That's a blame that you put that blame on Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman on that defensive breakdown there. At the defensive coordinator disaster. That's on those two guys. I want to try to get caught up in comments because I'm so far backed up here. I'm not saying Frank Reich is the answer from a creativity standpoint, but he was great at maximizing his quarterback strength. I agree. I didn't want Frank Reich being brought in midseason, but if you want him to be your offense coordinator next year, if he's willing to come here, and if Nick Sirianni is willing to give all the offensive reins to him, done. Sign me up right now. Bieniemy can't leave the Commanders to be an offense coordinator elsewhere. Not how it works. Well, I think they fired the entire coaching staff, so I think he's available, or at least he's going to be available. But I think they fired everybody in Washington. I could be wrong on that. So he could be an offense coordinator anywhere he wants to be, unless there's some weird thing in his contract. Pulling Desai after that gauntlet was a major mistake. Absolutely agree. It was. We didn't know it at the time, but it was a huge mistake. I think Hurts wants Brian Johnson to come back. I'm praying he gets the Carolina job. I agree, Mister. I think he does come back. Well, I don't think he does come back. I think there's a chance he comes back if he doesn't get the head coaching job. And we're going to be sold the spiel of we need to have some continuity on offense. And bringing everybody back is going to bring that continuity. Maybe they bring in a new quarterback coach or an offensive assistant of some kind. And that's going to be a mistake. Not making any change to the offense is a bigger mistake than hiring the wrong new offensive coordinator. That's right. Go Birds. Cowboys club. That's all we can agree on. We were both wrong about Carson. I don't want you to be wrong, but I'm fairly convinced I'm right. I love that. This statement, I just love it. We were both wrong on Carson to an extent. Because I think Carson might have had a better overall career. Maybe not in Philly, but better overall career if it wasn't for the injuries. That concussion, man. I still don't think he's truly, fully over that concussion, at least mentally speaking. And I think his career would have gone in a different direction if it wasn't for that concussion. I really do. With Bieniemy, the Chiefs' offense went from unbeatable to top tier with basically the same offensive pieces. Changed the offense when they lost Hill and didn't miss a beat with a mobile quarterback. Yeah, but you're also talking about Patrick Mahomes there. Just saying. Now, even I can't say Jalen Hurts is anywhere near Patrick Mahomes' level. Just saying that. Bieniemy will pass the ball massively, which we want them to run the ball massively here. That's what we do best. So, Bieniemy is an option. I wouldn't complain about Bieniemy, but I'd really want to hear what Bieniemy has to say before I get on board with that. Yeah, thanks. Exactly. Lucio, Mike McCarthy needed to go. Definitely on hot seat now. Dude, I can't believe the Cowboys are keeping Mike McCarthy. I can't. It's laughable. Like, that's more laughable than keeping Nick Sirianni. Like, what would be the worst move in the NFC East this offseason? Mike McCarthy returning as head coach of the Cowboys or Brian Johnson returning as the offensive coordinator of the Eagles? They're both pretty bad. But, man, Mike McCarthy staying is laughable. We were at the stage where only way we win NFC East is because Dallas can't do anything right. But Jonathan is Teflon done. I was being a little sarcastic with that, but yeah. Darlene says Mark McCarthy is a good coach. He just needs better players. That's all we need to do. Yeah, it's like Mike McCarthy put a mustache on and became Mark McCarthy. He's in disguise a little bit down there in Dallas. Obviously proving that you're a Dallas fan. I am nothing like Hurts. I see but can you throw the ball? You might be able to read the defense, but can you throw the ball? Can you? I don't know. Blame Laurie because he missed that throw on 4th and 5. Blame Laurie because he enables Howie. Howie handcuffs Sirianni. Sirianni doesn't run the games to help Hurts. Hurts misses the throws. The players fumble. The players make mistakes at tackling. Everybody's to blame. I'm not taking this personally. Strictly business. Strictly business. I know we are better off with Jalen Hurts than without Jalen Hurts. I'd rather stick it out with you. Take the contract out of the situation. If he was on a 1-year deal for $5 million, I'm still extending Jalen Hurts after this season. Because we're better off with Jalen Hurts and what we know we can at a minimum get, which is this year. This year's the minimum we get. We might get something close to 2022, but at least we're going to get this. The other option, are you going to go out? go get Sam Darnold or Zach Wilson or some of these other names that are Mac Jones. Look at some of the quarterbacks out there in the NFL. Draft a young guy, you might get C.J. Stroud, you might get Bryce Young. Drew Lock start games this year. Just look at who started at quarterback. I'm still taking Jalen Hurts over whatever the alternative might end up being. Just leave this out there for a second. It'll at least lighten the mood. Patricia's an idiot. Should never have made. I agree, Doc. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, there's literally no doubt about that. Philly not ready to take the blinders off for his son, Jalen. You're not my son. Do we look the same to you, Marshawn? I think there might be some slight dissimilar appearances in our looks, me and Jalen Hurts. We would have better off with Desai the whole season. I agree. Maybe we win one more game. Maybe we win in the playoffs. We play the Eagles in the second round. Yeah, exactly. We're all sitting at home. We're all Cowboys fans and Eagles fans alike, licking our wounds, fighting amongst ourselves, whatever it should be. Eagles versus Cowboys, round 1 of the Cancun Cup Beach Volleyball Tournament. That's right, Marshawn. I like that. Pool volley. I prefer pool volleyball than beach volleyball, but I'll play a little beach volleyball if you want. Volleyball. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Nobody could tell how good is any team is going to be next year. The simple as that special Philadelphia fan who hates the Dallas. The enemy hasn't been fired. Okay. I thought when they fired their GM and Ron Rivera moved on, I thought they actually moved on from everybody. Not because it automatically happens. I just thought that's what happened. My bad. But I would assume whoever the next head coach would be would want to pick his own staff. That would be me. My guess. But if he hasn't been fired, you can't technically look at him yet. I get that. We'll have the volleyball team ready for Sunday against Dak and CD. That's right. That's right. If we run it back with Nick and Brian, we're screwed for 2024. It's obvious they have no answers. But Bobby, if they run it back with Nick and somebody else, is that okay to you? Carson's problem was his attitude, which was consistent throughout. Yeah, so like Carson had more arm talent than Jalen. Jalen Hurts supposedly has the attitude and leadership ability. Now, I am questioning his leadership ability. I will say that. But his work ethic and his attitude and his Mamba mentality to an extent, I still can't question that on Jalen. But I will question, is he the right type of leader for this football team? Is he the right type of leader? I shouldn't say he's not a good leader. I should say, is he the right type of leader for this city, this team, and what this team needs him to be? My grandpa was telling me the Cowboys used to be good. Yeah. There's a whole generation of Cowboys fans that don't even know, weren't even alive when the Cowboys last won. Mark McCarthy runs the East Coast offense. Mark McCarthy really has got everybody. Todd Monken is a name not many are bringing up. I know someone brought him up to me on the show yesterday or on Twitter yesterday. I forget. I think he'd do great here. Has the Georgia connection, brought back the dynamic Ravens offense. Look, okay, so it was yesterday on the show because we were trying to remember who the wide receivers even were in Baltimore. And Lamar Jackson had a great damn season this year with no wide receivers, with a tight end that was injured most of the second half of the season. It was a great season. Perennial Super Bowl favorites. So Todd Monken is definitely a name, but he would be we would have to pry him away. And I don't know how we would do that. I can't believe McCarthy survived this. Yeah, I can't. I can't. You are right. I am just like Jalen. I can't throw the ball. Oh, ouch. Wow. I don't know about that. That one dug deep. That was not only stick the knife in me, but you pulled it up too. You cut through me on that one. Blame Howie because he made the play call to throw a 30-yard bomb. I can't believe we don't want to put blame on Howie at all. See, this is the thing. I don't have Jalen Hurts blinders on. I have the ability to see that everybody is to blame. Most of Eagles Nation wants to point to one person. Jalen, Nick, Brian, Howie, whoever. Everybody wants to pick one person to blame. When in reality, it was a complete and utter organizational failure this year. That's the problem. We're better off with Jalen Hurts. Yes, this is truly an honest Jalen Hurts. What, am I not allowed to have an opinion on the Jalen Hurts conversation, Marshawn? That's my question. Everybody just wants me to come on here and have this conversation and just bash Jalen Hurts. I'm giving you the forum to tell me your problems with Jalen Hurts, but also are mad at me when my opinion on Jalen Hurts doesn't match yours. And I love you, Marshawn. But there's two sides to a conversation is two ways, not just one way. To think that we're better off without Jalen Hurts and some of the other options out there at quarterback is a laughable thing. The quarterback situation, do we want to go back to the era of not having a quarterback? Rotating through the Bobby Hoyens and the Rodney Peets and the Bubby Bristers of the world? Is that what we want? Or do we want to have some stability? Best quarterback in the league is Josh Allen. I don't know. You were bashing him like 6 weeks ago. Wait, so we would have Patricia to run a system that was not his, and he did not know how to run it. That's a fair other side of it, but that's what we were told he was doing. That's the problem I have. Patricia's going to end up as a college coach based on his stupidity he's shown in the NFL. Maybe. I think Jerry realized it's Dak that's the problem. Why else trade for Lance? Yeah, you're going to see Cowboys fans calling for Trey Lance a lot this offseason. The only cure for this team is a hard reset. That would be firing Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts into the wind. Patricia never good. Zay Flowers is a really good, or he's got potential. I don't know. Not saying Patricia is good, but that mess we just saw was not his fault. It was Howie's mess. See, there is taking the blinders off. George is a huge Howie Roseman supporter, and he can see that Howie was part of the problem. That's what I'm trying to have in this conversation, realizing it's not all one person's fault. There's a lot of people with a lot of blame to go around. Aguilar deep in the playoffs and the Eagles fans in misery. It's the best story 2024. Whatever that loser who clowned Nelson on TV, I hope is having a miserable time watching football this year. You have the ability to blame everyone but the one player who touches the ball every snap. But I have blamed Jalen Hurts. But I'm trying to say there's no clear-cut answer on one person you could point the finger at. He couldn't even get the handoff correctly. How much of that was on him? How much of it was on the running back? Yeah, he struggled sometimes with the handoffs this year. There's so much blame to go around. Marshawn, you're the one with the blinders on, not me. You're the one that wants to point the finger solely at Jalen because he touches the ball more than anybody outside of the referee. That's it. You only want to blame one person. I see blaming everyone. And see, that's the thing. This is what a conversation is two-way street. And blame needs to be put on everybody. My desire to have this conversation is because I am not sure Sirianni has more blame. I would put a lot of equal blame on Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. I would say it's pretty equal. And I would put equal blame on how, if I had to do it, I would be 1A, 1B, 1C on Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and Howie Roseman. I would put more blame on those three individuals than Brian Johnson and Sean Desai and Matt Patricia. Sean Desai didn't get the tools to do his job. Matt Patricia was stuck in an unwinnable situation. And Brian Johnson was put in a position he was probably not ready for. So I blame those three ahead of the three coordinators. We don't do a reset anymore at TMC. In all honesty, it's been a shit show all season. I thought you were calling this a shit show, Davon. I was going to be like, yo, what the hell? All season. And real fans know that. The rest started to lose their minds after back-to-back L's. Yeah, exactly. It's been a shit show the whole season. I just thought you were calling me a shit show here. I mean, I was called the beard no knowledge on Twitter the other day because of my opinions, and that really broke my heart. Yeah. That thing was hilarious. That thing was funny. Open your ears. No, stop. You open your ears. The act of saving a baby isn't loser activity. Clown another person on TV. Oh, stop. Let's throw it back to the Juan Castillo days and make Stout the defense coordinator. I mean, sure. Why not at this point? I mean, what else could go wrong, right, Jay? I mean, why not? What is up, Dave? How you doing this morning? Morning. The way the players took up for Nick in postseason interview makes think. Yeah, Nick wasn't going, I don't think, before any of those comments. It was highly unlikely. But now I think he does stay. But there are more rumors that Brian Johnson might stay if he doesn't get the head coaching job. And that might be a problem. Making no changes to this coaching staff would be a failure. It was epic. Aggie was that time. You can all bash on Nelson Aguilar all you want. But anybody on that 2017 Eagles team is okay in my book. Any guy that made a play in that playoff run or Super Bowl, okay in my book. I will never, ever bash Nelson Aguilar because without him, we don't win a Super Bowl. I got your blame game right here, too. Yeah, that's right. Never got the reason why fans thought Howie was untouchable. It's funny, Brett. I used to be the biggest anti-Howie Roseman guy. George in the comments will tell you that. But I've come around, and I appreciate Howie Roseman for the adjustments to what he does he's made. He has changed and evolved as a GM. Now, there is still flaws in the work he puts together every offseason and throughout the season, Brett. And this harkens back to the conversation that we've had multiple times last week or two. If Nick Sirianni was fired, would he immediately get a head coaching job? No. If Howie Roseman was fired, would he immediately get a GM job elsewhere? Within 30 seconds. So to me, he's not untouchable. He has plenty of blame to be put his way. But you can't move on from him. You got to cope. He continues to evolve as a general manager. Dave gives Jalen a C grade for the season. However, with better play calling, he might be great again. If we were going to grade, maybe we'll do that next week. Maybe next week's show, we'll do a grade the offense one day and grade the defense players. And should they stay? Should they go? Maybe we'll work on that next week. I do have some guests I'm lining up for next week. My man Scotty, DSM, will be joining us on Tuesday morning, talk Sixers. Bill Matz will be joining us next week. I'm working on a day, I think Wednesday, to talk Flyers. I got another special guest I'm working on for later next week. Her name's Renee. Can't wait to have her on to talk all things Philly sports. But Jalen Hurts, a C. Maybe a C+. Maybe a B-. He still made plays. Like the 76ers hope for a backup center on the buyout market. Yeah. If you're blaming everybody, then you need to blame Sirianni, and I have. I've blamed Sirianni. I blamed Howie Roseman. I blamed Jeffrey Lurie, Big Al. I blame everybody. I'm not putting the blame on just Jalen Hurts. I'm saying Jalen Hurts had flaws. But I'm saying Jalen Hurts' flaws aren't the only reason why this team is not playing this weekend. There's a lot of blame to go around. Did we not sit up here blaming Nick and Brian every day the last 8 weeks? One day of a Jalen Hurts conversation, we couldn't do that without saying Shane is the reason why we suck. But I sat up here blaming those guys, and you were the one that kept saying no, Jalen Hurts was the problem. Look, I'm saying there's a problem. So you're just too blind on your Jalen Hurts opinions, Marshawn. You're too stubborn. You're the one with the blinders, not me. Sirianni is safe because Dougie P was safe after his bad season, but decided to push for more power over his staff and the vote of no confidence from Wentz, which ended up killing him. I think that's a fair way to put it, for sure. Beard of no knowledge. And supposedly somebody thinks that's my name. Actually, it might be your burner account that did it because it was just somebody's burner account that did that. Wherever he is, I hope Nelson catches a touchdown and gives him a shout out, but he won't because Nelson is a class act. Absolutely. Confident Stout would do a better job than Patricia. Yeah. Everybody thinks Stoutland's untouchable too. The offensive line was not good in pass protection this year, guys. So even Stoutland, not a lot of the blame, but there's even blame to go on Jeff Stoutland. Everybody is to blame this year. Yeah, it is cold here too, for sure. Brandon Graham packing up. Brandon Graham probably back. Fletcher Cox probably not. If you read the comments and listen to the comments of the players in the locker room yesterday, sounds like Fletcher Cox isn't going to be here next year. Sounds like Kelce hasn't made that decision yet, and it sounds like Brandon Graham wants to be here. We'll see if he is. So that's it. There's a high school team that would hire Nick right away. Well, okay. I didn't mean that. I meant NFL. Would an NFL team hire Nick Sirianni immediately? Maybe I should rephrase that. I think a hard reset is probably the right decision, but no way any organization does that after the last 3 seasons. You have to let the dust settle. It was a knee-jerk reaction to make that defensive coordinator switch. Yeah. In reality, you needed to make an offensive coordinator position switch, not a defense coordinator, personally. But yeah, Howie is a top 5 GM. He is human. Is Jalen Hurts not human? Can he make mistakes? Just saying. You want to give Howie a pass for mistakes, but we're not going to give Jalen a pass for his mistakes? Just saying. Howie is consistent and makes sure this team is competitive every year. That's true. That ink won't even be dry before he's a GM somewhere else. Exactly agree. But that's the difference between Sirianni and Roseman. If you cut Jalen Hurts, somebody's going to sign Jalen Hurts right away. You fire Nick Sirianni, he ain't getting hired right away. You fire Howie Roseman, he's getting hired right away. The answer to those, if you fire or cut a player or coach, would they get a job immediately and how quickly is the answer to where the problems might be. Just saying. Do it right now. You're on your couch. Your life is passing you by. Jalen gets a C. C for can't read the field. Oh, my God. I hate you. Hey, why doesn't Sirianni add some of the methods they use in Green Bay and Baltimore? That's why you need a new offensive coordinator. Our reasons have gone the way of physical media around here. I don't got to do anything that you tell me to do, K1. I do what I want when I want. I hope we keep Swift. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one when we do stay and go with free agents and stuff like that. I mean, sure, I would love DeAndre Swift to stay here. But also, Davon, teams are going to see it's DeAndre Swift and know how talented he is and offer him more money than Howie Roseman's willing to give him. Does he want to stay here and try to continue winning and be in his hometown team? Or does he want the bigger payday? A running back needs to collect their pay, needs to get paid when they can. No offense, if DeAndre Swift takes more money to go elsewhere, I give him my blessing. I'll just say it that way. Because running backs got to get their bank when they can. And Swift, he's not going to get a bank. He's not going to get $60 million or anything like that. But if Miles Sanders got a 4-year, $26 million deal last year, DeAndre Swift definitely is going to get at least that. And Howie Roseman's not going to give it to him. That would have really helped this offense this year. And it was just 4 wrinkles out of the same look. Yep. I think C+ or B- for Hurts. I think C+, B- is pretty much the same grade. He did win a couple of games single-handedly. But when you have the quality he has around him, B- is not acceptable. And I think that is one of the most fair statements of the show so far. He was good this year. But with the talent on this team, he should have been great. And the question is, why wasn't he great? Partly because he created too many turnovers. Partly because he can't read the field or check down properly. Partly because of the coaching staff. Partly because wide receiver drops. Partly because of injuries. Partly because of coaching. Partly because of everything. But I think this is a very, very fair way. B- when you sign, not only when you have the quality of players around him, is B- not good enough. But when you sign a $250 million contract, B- is not good enough. Now, I didn't expect A+ Jalen Hurts this year after last year, but I expected A- or B+ Jalen Hurts. The difference between B- Jalen Hurts and B+ Jalen Hurts is us playing this week and not, in my opinion. It's finally enrolling in Everest College. Anyone going to the Stars-Flyers game tonight? I don't know. Not me. Never said how he should be fired, but after he finally got wide receivers, people acted like he was the second coming of Bill Polian. Plus, we can argue about Aguilar, but we all can agree on J-Jaw. No, I love J-Jaw. I wrote an article once when I was writing 3-4 years ago how J-Jaw deserved to stay on the Eagles longer. J-Jaw stunk. He was so bad. So bad. Jalen Hurts is a problem, but you want to talk about what a Nick can improve on when he might not be here next year. I rest my case. Stop. You haven't made a case. If anything, you've solidified my case today, Marshawn. Agreed. Stout U was looking a lot like DeVry this season. I'm one of the few that'll say, I'm one of the few that will call out Jeff Stoutland University. I am. And that's why people don't like me. For Howie haters, we had a deal on table with Derrick Henry mid-season. Titans pulled it. So do Ravens. Derrick Henry wouldn't have made any difference this year. We barely ran the ball to begin with. Derrick Henry made no sense on this team. People completely forget Stout was run game coordinator. Just saying, and there's no doubt the guy needs to go Hall of Fame. I'm not saying he's not a Hall of Fame assistant coach. I'm just saying the pass blocking schemes were terrible. They were. We gave him far too many pressures. Even if Jalen Hurts isn't finding a hot route or audible into a hot route, when the blitz came, the team didn't pick it up. Even when there wasn't a blitz, there were plenty of times that 4 guys were getting pressure on the 5 offensive linemen. Just saying. Just saying. Individually, the offensive line was talented, but as a whole unit, the offensive line wasn't number 1 elite this year. Just saying. He'd be hired right away. It works until you remember Doc Rivers was hired right away by the Sixers. We all saw how that went. That's fine. That's fair. It's fair. Doc Rivers was not my choice to hire to be the Sixers head coach. Let me backtrack to that a little bit there. The difference between Howie and Jalen is that Howie has more than 1 season of excellence, just saying. But Jalen hasn't been given. Howie's been given 10 years to have multiple season success. We're talking about Jalen Hurts' third year, and we're ready to write Jalen Hurts off. Well, not you specifically, but people are ready to write Jalen Hurts off after 1 not elite A+ season. Jalen Hurts, the Eagles still won 11 games and still made the playoffs. Let's not forget about that. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard a few people say Kellen Moore. Maybe. It's not in my top 5 list, but I wouldn't cry. I'd rather Kellen Moore than Brian Johnson coming back. There's pretty much most people I would prefer than Brian Johnson coming back. It's like the only name that I heard, and it was a sarcastic joke, but I saw someone tweet out, "Bring back Marty Morningwig." That's probably the only person I would keep Brian Johnson over. But there's probably better options than Kellen Moore, in my opinion. 3-2-1, 1-2-3. What the heck is bothering me? I don't know. That I didn't reset. It's Sirianni's scheme. You could tell because there are the same plays from last season. No motion, no wrinkle. RPOs were obvious. I think that's the biggest problem with the offense. It was just so obvious. Every play was so obvious. And it wasn't executed well. Yeah, bubble screens suck. And we're not successful at them. But at least, you could run it and run it accurately. Like the play last on Monday night. When you got a bubble screen and you got Julio Jones and Dallas Goedert just running into each other. And then Jalen Hurts throwing the ball that almost gets picked off on. So it wasn't just a bad scheme. It was bad execution of the scheme. Some of it's on the players, but some of it's on the practice routine as well. Kane Moore stinks, yeah. I don't know about stinks, but he is exactly the type of head coach Laurie would hire. I don't know if Moore would be an offensive coordinator here or not. He was good this year, but with the talent around him, he should have been better. Is not the same as he wasn't good enough this year. I think that the first line is more accurate than the second line. We should have a Marshawn versus Phil debate. We're having a Marshawn versus Phil debate here. That's exactly what we're having here. I've even got George being realistic and fair on the conversation. Marshawn's just straight one line. He's telling, and I give Marshawn credit. He ain't backing down, but I just think he's wrong. If this stays the same, it will be interesting to compare this team with Steichen and the Colts with Richardson healthy. Yeah. Shout out Holy Cross. Why do we shout out Holy Cross? Only I can bring up Holy Cross. I'm Big Al. What case did you make? You literally blamed everyone because it's easier in a world of inclusivity. No, you're blaming one person, and I'm saying there's equal blame to go around. You won't make any case other than that Jalen Hurts stinks. Me, I'm telling you, he does things bad, but he also does things well. Jalen Hurts is to blame, but not the sole purpose of the collapse of this season. I think my case is much different. Too many caveat when speaking Jalen, but Nick and Brian and Howie and Laurie and Stoutland are for sure the issue. No, I said Jalen and them are the issue. You blindly blaming one person because he touches the ball more than anybody else on the field is a very blinded approach to what the problems are on this season. It wasn't Jalen Hurts' problem that the defense was a disaster, or would you say it's Jalen Hurts' fault for not scoring enough points on offense? Just saying. There's lots of blame. I've blamed Patricia. He might not, but I have. I take Johnson over Mike Crow. Probably. Maybe. Yeah, probably. I have to think about that for a second. Only speaking offense at K1, defense no saving. See, I'm blaming everybody because the defense disaster is as much to blame for this team's collapse as the offense is, as the offense. Just saying. Just sell the team and move it to London. I will. You would love that because then the home games you wouldn't have to stay up till 4 in the morning to watch anymore, George. That's the only reason why you want that. Well, George or Eric, just go away. Don't even get in this conversation. This show. We're holy crap. We got 10 minutes left today. This has been a complete and total disaster of a conversation today. Just go home. Go quiet. Go. Just run away, please. We'll be interesting on the 30 for 30 to find out who really installed Patricia. Yeah, exactly. K18, what's up? Yeah. Philip is going to the mattresses again. I need to go back to my mattress, go back to sleep after this. You press on everyone else on offense, but when Jalen is brought up, you go to DEFCON 1. No, I think I've been very fair criticizing Jalen Hurts today. I think I have. I think I've been very, very fair on my Jalen Hurts' criticism today. You have been too blind on your Jalen Hurts' criticism. This show, I don't know where this show went, man. This show went off the rocker 5 minutes into it when Marshawn joined the program. Probably time to have a conversation about Slay as well. Oh, we're gonna have the whole Stay or Go series that we're gonna do this offseason. We'll probably do a whole Stay and Go series on just the cornerbacks alone, and it'll be very simple. Slay and Bradbury should go. Bradbury will go. Slay might stay. I don't know what'll happen with Slay. And I think Slay could be better next year. But I think his days of being elite shutdown corner might be behind him. Criticize, enjoy the rest of your day you're on. Hey, Marshall, I love you. Don't miss next week when Scotty joins me. I know you love Scotty too. Tuesday, Scotty, half hour of Sixers talk. Next Tuesday. Cannot wait to get my man Scotty back on the show. It's been too long. And it's been too long since we've talked Sixers, too. So, been far too long since we've talked Sixers at length, is what I should say. When the Eagles' most consistent players are Britton Covey and Jake Elliott, shows how off the rails the season went. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And Britton Covey, there's an answer. Britton Covey didn't see the field except for in very brief moments this year and in week 18. You couldn't use Britton Covey's abilities in some way. You keep trotting out Quez Watkins every week. You couldn't try to find a way to integrate a new wrinkle into the offense with Britton Covey. I'm not saying he's the Wes Welker type, but a small, speedy receiver that finds soft spots in zones. You're telling me that Britton Covey couldn't play that role? But there was no creativity in the offense whatsoever. I don't think we settled anything today, K1. Are you listening to this show or are you listening to a different show? Because I don't know. I don't think any business got settled. Trade for PS2 and draft Trotter Jr. I'm all in. Yeah, Patrick Surtain, you're not trading for Patrick Surtain, Jake. What did Jalen Ramsey get traded for a few years back? Like 2 first-round picks plus Patrick Surtain. You'd have to trade your next 2 first-round picks, 1 of your second-round picks, and something else. He ain't available. I hate to say it. And Jeremiah Trotter, I've seen Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in mocks, and I don't do mocks. I'll bring on some mock draft experts over the course of the offseason. Obviously, Shane Half will be on here, without a doubt. Maybe Easter week, I'll try to bring on Deebs, Mr. Crockpot himself. I've seen Jeremiah Trotter drafted from the early 30s to the late 80s in mock drafts. So I have no idea. But we know that Howie Roseman wouldn't draft Trotter unless it was in the 3rd round. So safety and linebacker are going to be need to address. But if Fletcher Cox is really gone, that first-round pick is going to be used on an interior defensive lineman. Lock it into stone right now Whoever the best defensive lineman is at 22, if we stay there, will be the pick, Jake. We know it. We need to draft heavily on D next season. Cornerback is a must. Yeah, I know everybody's going to say that we got some young talent in Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks, and Isaiah Rodgers will probably be back. But I agree. We need somebody like one of those top elite cornerbacks drafted. I don't know who the elite guys are this year. I don't know where they're going to go in the draft. I haven't even looked at a mock draft board to see projections or anything. We need one. And I think if you had to put, and I'm just going to throw, we got to wrap this. We got 5 minutes left in the show. Cornerback, safety, linebacker. If Howie Roseman was going to draft one of those only in the first round, not just what would you want him to draft, but what is he most like? Because he doesn't like drafting those guys in the first round. But I think he would find it in his heart to appease the Eagles fan and draft a cornerback before a safety and a linebacker in that first round slot. That's just my opinion. Man was good this year. Yeah, he wasn't bad. He was better than Sippos. We'll say that. The Cowboys had their kick returner score against us, Turpin. Yeah. Yeah. Using that punt returner in different roles. No creativity in the offense, and AJ monopolizes Hurts' attention. Not both are accurate. No creativity, and AJ is force-fed the ball. Look at it this way, George. Was it week 2 or week 3 that AJ Brown had his little spat with Jalen Hurts on the sideline? That was actually when the season turned around and started to fall apart. George has been spot on. I'm glad to have George in the conversation today. George, like I said, keeps everybody, except for Marshawn, level here. If they pick another Georgia player, I'm going to just turn off the TV. Yeah, I think we need to get somebody else. Maybe not a TCU wide receiver or a Tennessee defensive end or a firefighter from Canada. But yeah, there's other teams other than Georgia. We want them to be drafted from the elite teams. Georgia, Michigan, Alabama. But it's not just Georgia. There are other teams out there. Every potential third wide receiver replacement who showed flashes of potential we buried for Watkins. I've never seen a player with more chances to succeed and fumble the opportunity more than that. Yeah, I find it hard to believe that Quez will be here next year. I don't know, Phil. When you have a season like this, you have to do something different. Maybe he shocked. Maybe he has shocked us before. Maybe he has evolved over the last 5 years as a general manager, no doubt. So maybe he does shock us. I would not be afraid or ashamed though, or sad though, if it was a cornerback that he shocked. Because what Lito was the first round safety or cornerback we've drafted. It's been that long. I couldn't tell you who the last first round safety was. And I don't know. Have we ever drafted a first round linebacker? I don't know. But at least Eagles organization has a history, a long time ago, but a history of cornerbacks in the first round. The perfect draft scenario is to lock Howie Roseman away until the 5th round, and I promise you, all his picks would still be on. Yeah, possibly. I love that. That's a great joke to end the show on. We're gonna wrap this up. Do we have a Jalen Hurts problem? I think outside of Marshawn, we all agreed there's a problem. It's not the only problem. And Brian coming at the last second here. Thank you. I appreciate it, Brian. Peace and harmony. That's right. That's right. I appreciate you getting in late here. But we'll be back tomorrow. We'll probably continue this conversation tomorrow about Jalen Hurts because tomorrow's show is going to be geared around the playoff game. I'm trying to get my man Jason Sullivan, my co-host, on Fairway to have him to join me because he's a Lions guy to talk. We're going to predict the playoff games at the last part of the show, but talking about what this team's missing that those other teams have, which leads you to the quarterback play, the coaching, and this thing. So while tomorrow's show will be a divisional round preview, it's also going to be a preview with the Eagles mixed into it. That's right. Let's go Flyers. And we do love Marshawn. Marshawn and I aren't going to see eye to eye on this one. I know that. You and I both raised concerns about players with attitude going into the season. We did. We both chatted privately about this. Slay and Brown were two names we talked about. Well, at least I talked about Slay and Brown with people. I think they were two that we discussed, me and you. But yeah, definitely plays a factor. No accountability to control those egos either. But we'll be doing a lot tomorrow on this show. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Make sure you hit that like button, share button, subscribe button. Send me messages and comments on Twitter @Beard of Knowledge. If you want to answer these questions, do we have a Jalen Hurts conversation that we need to have? That's it. That's what I got. That's my time today, guys. Y'all have a great day. Bundle up. We got another snow front coming into the Philly area tonight into tomorrow. Another couple inches coming. Feel like every other day we have an inch or two of snow coming now. We go how long with no snow? Now every other day there's 2 inches of snow coming. Sucks. But guys, have a great day. Be safe. Stay warm. Be talking to you guys tomorrow. Go Flyers. Obviously, they got a game tonight, it sounds like. AJ was in AC instead of at the game. And again, I touched on this yesterday or the other day when someone else said this. I know it's a playoff game and AJ's a captain, so he should have probably been the exception. But in the regular season, injured players do not travel. Players ruled out before game day do not tend to travel to away games. Just saying. Now, AJ is a different exception. Maybe he should have been there. But to address that last comment there, I will say that go Birds. Let's go Flyers. Have a great day, guys. I'm Phil Stiefel for Philadelphia Sports Network. This is Trending AM. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 a.m.